Hello and welcome back to our week-long special edition of Take Debate, previewing the start of the 2013-2014 season. I'm Tim Hiley, and this is my
Hello.
unfortunately this is my co-host Joe McIndoe. I wanted another one, but needs must.
Bruce Springsteen was busy, and I don't think he knows much about football.
Yeah,
And I think David Beckham, yeah, he's got some deal with Sky, so he was busy as well. So unfortunately, I was next in line.
yeah, you are.
Yes,
How
I
are you?
hope I'm as popular as Bruce Springsteen and David Beckham. We'll go with that. But
Yeah.
I'm good, thanks.
Hi.
I'm good.
Yeah. Looking forward
So
to discussing the prospects of
Aston
uh,
Villa,
Aston Villa.
indeed, indeed. Um, basically, they had a horrible season last year.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
basically, their savior, for want of a better word, Benteke, seems to have maybe used that as a bargaining tool. Let's say. I remember you telling me off air that he requested a transfer and then signed 2 weeks later.
yeah. So that was basically
A
either
move.
either a ploy to get more money, or no one actually wanted him.
I mean, I don't think I. My personal view is it was a ploy, and if it was
I
a
agree.
ploy, you've got to tip your cap slightly because Um, unlike Rooney, it was done with minimum fuss. Uh, basically, he said, "I want more." He said, "Transfer request." They I would imagine, gave him more money or made promises, and he signed a new contract.
Mm.
So even if you don't like star power, that was well worked.
And then he comes out and says, "Oh, I just wanted to be reassured of my role here, and the ambitions of the football club. I love this club, that sort of stuff." And it was actually, I just wanted an extra zero on my paycheck.
Well, to be fair, we don't know, but
No, but I imagine that's what
yeah.
went on.
I mean, to be fair, it could have just been a case of we do love you, we think you're part of the plan. You are the basically a bit of ego stroking, just
I
gently
mean, to be
spoken.
fair, he is the centerpiece of
He
that team.
we played them at Villa Park at the start of the I think it was fairly near the start of the season, and
Oh
he
no,
was
no, 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 we played them in January.
was it
It was,
January?
no, it was either late December or early January. It was one of Adkins's last ever games for
Well, it
as
was
manager.
it was
Uh,
it was at the, because for those that don't know, we're Southampton fans, um, and yeah,
Formerly
it was
Saints,
it was part one of the season basically, if you think about it.
because that we I think
Um,
what you may be getting confused is was when they played us at St Mary's where we won 4-1. That was early on in the season.
Oh, oh yes, you're right. It was. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sorry, but the thing for me was Villa didn't look all that special. The thing that troubled us really was Benteke, and then only really in the second half did Villa really get going and start causing problems, and they couldn't hit a shot on target to save their lives.
Yeah, and it
But
was that second half that we scored all four of our goals against them.
no, I was talking more about Villa. I was talking more about
The one at
Villa
Villa Park.
Park. Yes.
Oh, right, 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 right.
Yes, I was talking about Villa, but yes, Southampton for Villa nil. What was it?
One,
One, I
one.
should say
It was
one.
4-1.
Give them their one goal. Give them their one. We better stop mocking because otherwise we'll get all this hate. But yes. Anyway, Villa are usually a fairly decent side, but for some reason they had an absolute dismal.
I think it was adjusting under, uh, Paul Lambert, adjusting to,
Mm, yeah.
various comings and goings and whatever. I mean, I think this summer they've made some really, really, really shrewd signings. I mean, really shrewd. I mean, picking up Nicholas Helenius from Alaborg for 2 million. I've played with him on Football Manager, and he is brilliant. He is really, really good.
And that's the
Um,
barometer of all things, Football
well,
Manager.
to be
Yes.
fair, it is normally. it is based on real life, so it is a kind of telling as to whether they are any good or not. And they picked him up for 2 million. And if
Mm.
he's half as good as he was on Football Manager, that will be a bargain. Same with Jaws Akor, the defender they signed as well. They've made some really shrewd signings, and they haven't actually lost that much. They lost Richard Dunn to QPR on a free transfer after they released him, and really that's about it. So really they've just got stronger.
Mm. But yeah, they're probably. I don't mean this too disrespectfully, but assuming that Benteke fires, I think they probably would. I think mid-table obscurity to top half finish is probably um, their lot this season.
I mean, I have got them down because I've actually written my Premier League table prediction on Microsoft Word. I've got them at 11th.
Mm. So
So that's
that is
basically
mid-table
what you're
obscurity,
you're saying, mid-table to top half.
mm.
So yeah, I think
Which is after last year, that's not so bad.
I
I mean,
think I think if you offered
rebuilding year.
I think if you offered Villa fans a mid-table finish and maybe even a run in the Carling Cup or whatever,
Yeah,
I'm sure they would bite your hand off
I
after
mean,
last season, because last season, like you say, was a bit of a disaster. But to be fair, it wasn't just last season. They've had a few really dodgy years.
we talked in the first part of our discussion. For those that didn't see it, it was Arsenal. But we talked briefly about the Carling Cup, and you were saying how it doesn't matter, blah blah blah. And for one
That's
thing, Villa, no, but Villa were in with a real shot of winning, and they they really did have a a beautiful chance to lift a cup.
mhm.
But for some reason, I don't. They should,
They should
they
have got
come
they should have got past Bradford,
they
but
really fluffed their lines.
but
I mean, they were
but I think that was the turning point of their season. Once they were out of the cup, that was when they actually started to win games in the Premier League.
well.
Because
You're gonna.
up until that point, they were bottom three. Really, really, really struggling. Paul Lambert was getting quite a lot of heavy criticism. After they got knocked out of the cup, they actually started playing really nice football. Benteke got a hatful of goals, and they managed to stay up and reasonably comfortably in the end.
You're gonna blame the Carling Cup for their failings, but
I'm not blaming the
I mean,
Carling Cup. I'm just saying it was maybe the springboard they needed. Maybe getting knocked out to Bradford in the semi-finals, sort of
was a kick up the backside.
yeah, that was that sort of
I mean, I remember I listened to that game, and I don't mind telling you, as a kind of neutral, I was kind of hoping that I think as I remember, Bradford would do fairly well, but
in a way I wanted Villa to win because I thought it might be an extra distraction
mm,
for them. But
but the point I want to make is I seem to remember that again Villa, like they did in the second half against us at Villa Park, they were pounding Bradford, and
mm,
they just couldn't finish. They had loads of chances, and that they can't afford that this year. They
mm,
cannot. What they can't afford to do is put all the weight on Benteke because he can't do it all himself. He's a very skillful player, but you know, if all you're going to do is say, "Oh, Benteke will save us," there will come a point where he will go through a drought, and if you haven't got anyone to step up and take the pressure, Villa will go down.
because I'm just looking at the way their season went last season, and
Mm,
at the end of November they were 17th. At the end of sorry, that was at the end of January they were 19th, February 18th, March 18th, and it was only then, you know, that they
yeah.
actually started to pick up points. And they picked up, 6 points in February. Okay, they didn't move up anywhere, but it's kind of, like that was. I genuinely think getting knocked out to Bradford was the sort of reality check they needed.
Mm.
And I'm sure if you had offered most Villa fans on the day of that um, defeat to Bradford, if you'd given them a choice of beating Bradford and going on to the Carling Cup final but getting relegated, or getting knocked out and staying in the Premier League, I'm sure most of them would say staying in the Premier League has
Mm.
got to be the priority.
I would probably agree with you, and I'm sure most would. I mean, if you disagree with that assessment, feel free to YouTube us and say
Or tweet
so. But
us, or
yeah,
Facebook us.
yeah, feel free, and all the links will be in the description, and you click on that and do what you've got to do.
Indeed.
But it's the same for Wigan. I mean, they won the FA Cup, but surely they too would have said, um, "Excuse me, FA, if you let us back in the Premier League, we'll give you the cup back right now."
Hmm.
I'm sure anyone in their right mind would say that.
Yeah,
But
because it's not just the prestige of playing against Man United every week or playing against Bournemouth every week. It's also the financial boost from Sky, and
yeah,
it's a
but
financial one as well. I mean, Championship teams that get relegated to
it's
Premier
a
League
hard
teams
life.
that get relegated to the Championship very rarely bounce back. I think only one in the last 4 or 5 years have actually bounced back, and that was West Ham.
I mean, the
Um,
truth is, Leeds are a real testament to kind of great sides that have struggled.
yep, and Saints were, and Leicester, and Coventry. You
Yeah,
know, there are so many teams that are just. I mean, I personally predict Reading to bounce straight back up, just purely because they've got the best manager in the division and the same squad they had a few years ago when they got promoted and won the league. But you know, the worry for teams like Villa is, do you want a cup run at the expense of your Premier League status? And
you can't afford that because let's be honest, if Villa had won the cup, sorry if this is getting off the track for you Villa fans, but if Villa had won the cup, they would have gone down. They would have then faced potentially, if they'd gone down, they would have then faced about a 55 game season.
mm,
Um, because you've got to honor European commitments, and you've got
without your financial boost that you get of playing in
yeah,
the Premier League as well.
exactly. You've then got to play in a grueling championship season, and having been in the championship for a couple of years, a couple times for
Mm.
Saints, that is no picnic.
Yeah,
They do play good football in the championship, and if you're not on your game, you'll lose.
I mean, I love the Championship as a neutral. I don't like being in it, but I do like
And
following it.
it the thing about football league is you think you're going to bounce straight back up, but
It
it
doesn't
gets
always work like that.
no, no, and it can get very financially hard, and you will find yourself losing to Doncaster more often than you might like.
Mm.
But anyway, yes, but I think Villa for me this year are probably, you say they've made shrewd signings, but I wait to see if they actually perform. And they've got Benteke, who's reliable. So I would say they're pitching for about a mid-table. I would say mid-table finish.
Yeah.
And I think most people would probably be, reasonably happy after last year's poor performance.
Can I also just make a small point?
You can make a small point.
After winning the Carling Cup, Swansea won only 2 games for the entire rest of the season, and that is a point, as if Villa had won the Carling Cup and went on a similar pattern when they were already 18th to begin with, that would have been a disaster for them.
No, but yeah, the thing about Swansea is, I mean, where did they finish Swansea? Just briefly. I mean, they must have
Yeah,
finished
they finished
mid-table.
mid-table. They finished ninth.
Mid-table. So the reason for their slump is probably you've won the cup, so you're going to Europe, and it's a mid-table finish, so you ain't going down. That's just a case of kind of I'm going on holiday in a few weeks mindset.
Yeah, on the beach mentality. But the point still stands. It's kind of like
You can't afford to do that if you're 18th. Villa, I don't think Villa would have done that if they were 18th. They would have had to fight.
So, your final thoughts on how they will fare this coming season?
They'll do fine. I don't think they'll struggle for relegation, but I don't think they'll be challenging for anything this year, apart from maybe a cup run.
Hmm.
Uh, they'll finish mid-table. I would agree with you on that.
Because I'm not a Villa fan, but I never for a second, even when they were 19th, ever thought they would get relegated because I just can't imagine the Premier League without Aston
About
Villa.
Villa, yeah.
You know, they're part of the furniture.
But arguably, you would have said that about Blackburn, and look at them.
And obviously Saints, Coventry, Leeds, all them. But even so, Villa, they've been in. It's like imagining the Premier League without Everton. I just can't ever
Mm,
envision it.
mm. I take your point, but
As much as sometimes I'd like to.
the truth is, you're never too big to go down if you don't play well.
Yeah, but they've always got that something left in the tank that can, you
Mm,
know, and that's what you get from experience of being in the Premier League for so long, and.
very true. Very true.
So mid-table,
Yes, indeed. Mid-table.
mid-table.
Sorry about that, Villa.
Well, I'm sure they take it considering the expense of going down.
Very true. But good luck to you anyway. But not at the expense of Saints.
Yeah.